Nobody cares how hard your life has been. And that is not the tragedy. The tragedy is that you keep trying to make people care, instead of becoming useful enough that they have to deal with you. Sympathy feels warm. It makes your pain feel witnessed. It gives you a small emotional payment for everything you have survived. For a moment, it feels like someone finally sees the weight you have been carrying. But sympathy does not pay you. Sympathy does not protect you. Sympathy does not make you harder to replace. Sympathy does not make the market trust you, hire you, promote you, respect you, or choose you. If you are an unsupported man, this truth will either offend you or free you. Because the world does not stop moving because you were hurt. The market does not lower its standards because your beginning was unfair. People do not automatically invest in you because you were doubted, abandoned, misunderstood, or ignored. Machiavelli understood this about human nature. Men do not respond reliably to suffering. They respond to interest, advantage, usefulness, fear, reputation, and visible strength. This is not a command to become cruel. It is a command to become accurate. Most men waste years trying to be understood by people who have no incentive to understand them. They explain their pressure. They explain their loneliness. They explain why they deserve a chance. They explain why their family should believe in them, why their friends should support them, why society should recognize their effort. But explanations do not create leverage. Pain explains you. Value pays you. That is the separation most men never accept. Your pain may be real. Your isolation may be real. Your struggle may be real. But if your pain has produced no skill, no proof, no money, no reputation, no physical command, and no options, then people can still control you. They can ignore you. They can pressure you. They can replace you. They can delay you. They can insult you. They can offer you crumbs and watch you accept them, because you have no alternative. That is why the goal is not to be pitied. The goal is to become impossible to control. And that begins when you stop asking, "Who cares?" and start asking, "What am I building?" Work harder, but understand what that means. This is not about mindless labor. This is not about destroying yourself just to prove that you can suffer. This is not about being exhausted and calling it discipline. Hard work without direction is just exhaustion with pride. The point is not to suffer more. The point is to build leverage, skill, proof, money, reputation, body, options. These are the assets that turn an unsupported man from a man who needs permission into a man who can move. A man with no skill is easy to ignore. A man with no proof is easy to doubt. A man with no money is easy to pressure. A man with no reputation is easy to dismiss. A man with no physical discipline is easy to weaken. A man with no options is easy to command. This is why leverage matters. Leverage is anything that increases your ability to move without begging. It gives you space. It gives you posture. It gives you silence. It gives you the ability to say no without shaking inside. Without leverage, you are always negotiating from weakness. You need the job. You need the client. You need approval. You need support. You need someone to understand. You need someone to say yes. And that need becomes a leash. People may not call it a leash. They may call it advice. They may call it concern. They may call it realism. They may say they are helping you stay grounded. But if you cannot walk away, you are not free. You are managed. This is why unsupported men must become strategically useful, not dramatic, not loud, not emotionally intense, not angry at the world, useful. The world does not reward how badly you want to win. The world rewards value. You can have a painful story and still be useless to the market. You can be underestimated and still untrained. You can be doubted and still have no proof. You can be abandoned and still have no offer. You can be angry and still have no leverage. That is the cruel truth. Pain may create hunger, but skill turns hunger into a weapon. The first form of leverage is skill. Build skill before asking for opportunity. This is where most men expose themselves. They want opportunity before usefulness. They want a chance before proof. They want someone to recognize their potential before they have trained that potential into ability. They say, "I just need someone to give me a shot. Maybe." But what exactly are they giving a shot to? A vague ambition, a hungry personality, a man with no samples, a man with no clear offer, a man with no visible competence. Opportunity is expensive. When someone gives you opportunity, they spend trust, time, attention, money, or reputation. Why should they risk that if you have not built skill? This is not unfair. This is market realism. If you want opportunity, become useful enough that opportunity becomes logical. Choose one skill that can feed you. Not because it sounds impressive, not because it makes you look intelligent, not because strangers online are praising it this month. Choose a skill because it solves a problem people already pay to remove. Writing, copywriting, video scripting, short-form editing, thumbnail design, sales outreach, lead generation, landing pages, AI workflow setup, offer creation. Pick one, then train. Not casually, not when you feel inspired, not when your mood gives you permission. Train like your future is tied to your competence, because it is. Study strong examples, copy structure, practice daily. Create outputs. Compare your work against better work. Find what is weak. Correct it. Repeat until your work becomes useful enough that people can no longer dismiss it as empty ambition. The unsupported man does not have the luxury of pretending effort alone matters. He must become useful. Skill is the first escape from helplessness. When you have no skill, you need someone to rescue you. When you have skill, you can create value. When you create value, you can enter the market. When you enter the market, you can create money. When you create money, you start buying oxygen. Skill is not just a career tool. Skill is a weapon against dependency. But skill alone will not save you if nobody can see it. That is why the second form of leverage is proof. Build proof before asking for trust. Trust is not owed to you. This is another truth weak men hate because they confuse sincerity with evidence. They want to be trusted because they mean well. They want to be trusted because they have suffered. They want to be trusted because they promise they will work hard. But sincerity is not proof. Pain is not proof. Promises are not proof. Everyone promises before the work begins. Proof is different. Proof can be inspected. Proof shows what you can do. Proof reduces risk. Proof turns your claim into evidence. If you are unknown, proof must speak before you do. A sample project is proof. A before and after breakdown is proof. A short case study is proof. A portfolio is proof. A public analysis is proof. A useful improvement is proof. These are not decorations. They are leverage. They help a stranger trust faster. And if you have 0 clients, build proof anyway. You do not need permission to create evidence. Pick a real business, a creator, a product, or a page. Analyze what can be improved. Create a sample improvement. Explain your thinking. Show the before and after. Turn it into a public case study. Do not lie. Do not pretend they hired you. Do not fabricate results. Just show how you think. That is enough to begin. The man begging for trust says, "Please believe I can help." The man with proof says, "Here is what I noticed, here is what I changed, and here is why it matters." That is a different posture. One asks for faith. The other brings evidence. Machiavelli said, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand." In the modern world, that means people judge what they can see before they believe what you claim. They see your work. They see your consistency. They see your standards. They see your proof. Then they decide whether your words deserve attention. This is why a man with receipts speaks differently. He does not need to explain himself as much. His work enters the room first. His evidence carries part of the conversation. His proof reduces the need for persuasion. And this is where many ambitious men fail. They keep saying they are serious, but they have nothing visible, no samples, no output, no public thinking, no clear offer, no body of work, no proof that their ambition has become competence. They want to be respected while remaining invisible. That is not strategy. That is fantasy. If you are serious, make your competence visible. If you want to truly change, stop consuming endless content and still staying in the same place. You watch videos about discipline, power, money, and self-mastery. But if nothing is being built, you are not learning. You are sedating yourself with the feeling of progress. If you continue like that, your life will not punish you loudly. It will punish you quietly. Another month will pass. Another year will pass. You will know more words, more theories, more philosophies, but your position will remain the same. Inside Patreon, I go deeper into the private systems behind these ideas, the unfiltered lessons, the frameworks, the breakdowns that are not made for casual viewers, but for men who are actually building. If you are serious, go there. The decision is yours. Power is not in begging people to choose differently. Power is in making the right choice impossible to ignore. The third form of leverage is money. Build money before asking for freedom. Many men speak about freedom while financially suffocating. They want independence. They want control over their time. They want to leave places that weaken them. They want to stop being controlled by employers, family, bad clients, bills, debt, and emergency pressure. But they do not respect money as oxygen. They earn and spend. They get paid and celebrate. They use their first money to feel successful instead of becoming harder to destroy. Then one slow month breaks them. One bill panics them. One delayed payment makes them desperate. One bad client becomes impossible to leave because they have no oxygen. Money is not just luxury. Money is decision space. Money is time. Money is protection. Money is the ability to say no. Money is the ability to keep building when results are slow. Money is the ability to avoid begging from people who use support as control. This is why financial discipline matters. Know your survival number. Cut status expenses, build a buffer, track every dollar, reinvest into skill, tools, proof, leads, and speed. Do not spend to impress people who did not help you build. That line matters. Many unsupported men are secretly driven by revenge spending. They want to buy things to prove they are no longer the man who was ignored. They want the people who doubted them to see the upgrade. They want status before stability. That is emotional slavery. If their opinion controls your spending, they still own part of you. Your first money is not for performance. It is ammunition. Use it to create more money, more oxygen, more proof, more speed, and more options. That is leverage. The fourth form of leverage is reputation. Build reputation before asking to be taken seriously. Your reputation is the story the market begins to believe about you before you enter the room. If no one knows what you do, you are not mysterious. You are unclear. If no one sees your work, you are not hidden. You are invisible. If no one can associate your name with a problem, you are hard to remember. And what people cannot remember, they cannot refer. This is why reputation matters. Reputation is not vanity. Reputation is repeated proof. Reputation is competence made visible. Reputation is the slow construction of trust before anyone shakes your hand, hears your voice, or gives you a chance. Machiavelli understood that power rests on perception. A man may possess ability, but if that ability cannot be seen, named, remembered, or trusted, then his power remains trapped inside him. You cannot build leverage while staying invisible and then complain that nobody sees you. The world is crowded. Attention is scarce. People are busy protecting their own interests. They are not walking around searching for hidden greatness in silent men who never show their work. So make the market see how you think. Post what you know. Post what you are building. Post the problems you solve. Post the standards you live by. Post the lessons you are extracting from your own work. Do not post to be admired. Post to make competence visible. A man with reputation has leverage because trust begins before the conversation. A prospect checks your profile and sees proof. A stranger reads your thinking and sees clarity. A potential client sees that you understand their problem before they ever speak to you. A follower begins to associate your name with a specific result. This compounds, slowly at first, then faster, and eventually, attention begins moving toward you instead of you always begging for it. That is the difference between noise and signal. Noise says, "Look at me." Signal says, "Here is what I understand, here is what I can do, here is why it matters." Most men hate this because building reputation requires consistency without immediate applause. They post once and expect the world to react. They create one sample and expect opportunity. They share one thought and expect recognition. That is not reputation. That is impatience. Reputation is repetition under a clear identity. The market needs to see you again and again before it believes you are real. Not because people are evil, but because most people are forgettable. Most people start and stop. Most people speak with intensity for 1 week and vanish the next. Consistency separates the serious from the emotional. If you are invisible, build the signal, not through fake confidence, not through empty motivational noise, through evidence, problem, cold truth, framework, example, action. Do that repeatedly. Make your value legible. Make your thinking useful. Make your standards impossible to confuse. And over time, reputation becomes leverage because people begin to know what to expect from you. A man with no reputation must explain everything from zero. A man with reputation begins the conversation with borrowed trust. That is power. The fifth form of leverage is the body. Build the body before asking for confidence. This does not mean worshipping appearance. This does not mean turning your body into an idol. This does not mean chasing a fake image to impress strangers. It means understanding that your body is the physical territory through which your ambition must operate. A weak body lowers energy. Poor sleep destroys focus. No movement dulls the mind. Bad habits reduce self-respect. Constant physical neglect teaches your mind that your standards are negotiable. The body is not separate from power. It is part of the system. When you train the body, you practice command. You teach yourself to do difficult things without applause. You build energy. You build posture. You build presence. You build a private form of respect. Again, this is not about impressing people. It is about not being governed by comfort. A man who cannot make his body obey will struggle to make his life obey. Move, train, walk, strengthen, sleep better, eat with purpose, protect your energy. Your body is not the entire game, but it affects every move you make. Skill requires energy. Deep work requires stamina. Outreach requires confidence. Delivery requires reliability. Reputation requires consistency. Money requires mental clarity. The body supports the machine, and the machine cannot produce power if its foundation is rotting. Many men want a powerful life while treating their body like an abandoned room. They feed it badly. They sleep carelessly. They sit all day. They consume endlessly. They drain themselves, and then wonder why their ambition feels weak. Your mind receives signals from your behavior. Every time you keep a physical promise to yourself, you strengthen command. Every time you break one, you weaken it. This is not morality, this is training. You are either teaching yourself obedience to your standards or obedience to your impulses. And a man ruled by impulse is easy to control. The sixth form of leverage is options. Build options before asking for freedom. Freedom is not a feeling. Freedom is not a quote. Freedom is not a fantasy you repeat while living under pressure. Freedom is the ability to choose without being trapped by desperation. If you have one income source, one client, one skill, one relationship, one gatekeeper, one plan, and no buffer, you do not have freedom. You have a narrow bridge, and anyone who controls that bridge can control your behavior. Options change posture. When you have options, you stop negotiating like a prisoner. You can leave bad clients. You can reject disrespect. You can survive delays. You can choose better markets. You can take calculated risks. You can avoid people who use your need against you. Options are built through leverage. Skill creates income options. Proof creates trust options. Money creates survival options. Reputation creates opportunity options. A disciplined body creates energy options. Relationships built on value create access options. This is the deeper point. Do not ask for freedom while building no options. Do not ask for power while staying easy to pressure. Do not ask for respect while bringing no value. Do not ask for opportunity while building no proof. This is where work harder becomes strategic. Not more hours for the sake of looking disciplined, not more suffering for the sake of feeling superior. Work harder at building what reduces control over you. More skill, more proof, more outreach, more delivery, more reputation, more money discipline, more physical command, more options. That is the work. Now let us expose the trap that keeps men weak even when they think they are being honest. Performing struggle. Performing struggle means turning your pain into an identity display. You keep telling people how hard it is, how unsupported you are, how nobody understands, how much pressure you carry, how much you have suffered, how unfair the beginning was. This may be true, but if you perform it too often, you begin to seek emotional payment for staying the same. You become attached to being seen as wounded, and that is dangerous. Because the wounded identity can become profitable emotionally. People comfort you, people excuse you, people lower expectations. People call you strong for surviving. And survival matters. But survival is not the final goal. The goal is not to be permanently recognized as the man who endured pain. The goal is to become the man who converted pain into power. You do not get there by being understood. You get there by becoming valuable. You get there by building assets. You get there by converting abandonment into discipline, discipline into skill, skill into proof, proof into trust, trust into money, money into leverage, leverage into freedom. That is the chain, not sympathy, leverage. A man who performs struggle says, "Look at what happened to me." A man who builds leverage says, "Look at what I built from it." That difference changes everything. One keeps you emotionally dependent on an audience. The other makes you structurally harder to control. If you are serious about this path, then stop looking for soft interpretations of hard truths. You are not lacking information. You are drowning in information. You have watched enough. You have saved enough posts. You have heard enough speeches about discipline, masculinity, money, solitude, and power. But watching is not building. And if you continue consuming powerful ideas without turning them into assets, those ideas become entertainment. They make you feel sharper while your life remains unchanged. Inside Patreon, I share the deeper private lessons for men who do not want the diluted version. The frameworks, the extended breakdowns, the practical philosophy, the unfiltered content that goes beyond what can be placed here. If you want to truly change, go there and study what serious men study. If you continue watching from the outside, you may still learn. But learning without execution becomes another form of delay. The decision is yours. Power does not sit in asking. Power sits in choosing, acting, and becoming the kind of man who no longer needs permission. Now here is your practical command. For the next 90 days, stop asking who cares. Ask what you are building. Every day, build one asset. Skill, proof, money, reputation, body, options. For skill, practice one monetizable ability daily. Choose the skill and stay with it long enough to become dangerous. Do not jump from writing to editing to sales to design to trading to coding every time your mood changes. Scattered energy creates scattered results. Pick one lane, train it, and produce evidence. For proof, create one sample, breakdown, case study, or public output every week. If you have no clients, build proof from observation. Study a business. Study a creator. Study a weak landing page. Study a poor thumbnail. Study a bad offer. Improve it. Explain what you changed and why. Turn your thinking into visible evidence. For money, protect oxygen. Know your survival number. Track what leaves your account. Cut expenses designed to impress people who are not building with you. Build a buffer. Reinvest in tools, learning, distribution, and speed. Your first money should make you harder to destroy, not easier to flatter. For reputation, publish proof content that shows your thinking. Stop hiding behind the idea that real work does not need to be seen. In a noisy world, invisible value is buried value. Make your standards visible. Make your competence visible. Make your message repeatable. For the body, train physical discipline. Walk, lift, move. Sleep with more respect. Eat like your energy matters. Stop treating your body as if it has no influence over your ambition. The body is the engine through which every plan must pass. For options, contact the market. Build relationships through value. Create alternatives before you need them. Do not wait until desperation forces you to move. Desperation makes men cheap. Options make men calm. Do this for 90 days, and you will not be the same man. You may not be rich yet. You may not be free yet. You may not be respected by everyone yet. But you will no longer be empty-handed. You will have receipts, and receipts change posture. A man with receipts does not beg the same way. A man with skill does not speak the same way. A man with money discipline does not panic the same way. A man with reputation does not enter rooms the same way. A man with physical command does not carry himself the same way. A man with options does not negotiate the same way. That is power. Quiet at first, then visible, then undeniable. And understand this clearly. The world does not need to hate you for you to fail. It only needs to ignore you while you remain unprepared. Nobody has to sabotage you if you keep sabotaging yourself with delay. Nobody has to oppress you if you refuse to build leverage. Nobody has to reject you if you never become useful enough to choose. This is why self-pity is so dangerous. It gives you an enemy outside yourself, while your real work remains untouched. It lets you say, "They did not believe in me. They did not support me. They did not understand me. They did not open the door." And maybe all of that is true. But the harder question is this: what did you build anyway? What skill did you sharpen anyway? What proof did you create anyway? What money did you protect anyway? What reputation did you grow anyway? What body did you discipline anyway? What options did you create anyway? That is the question that separates men who complain from men who rise. Machiavelli did not build his view of power on comfort. He saw men as they are, not as we wish them to be. He understood that affection is unstable, gratitude is fragile, and human loyalty often bends under interest. So do not build your future on the hope that everyone will finally understand you. Build it on assets. Build it on proof. Build it on competence. Build it on reputation. Build it on resources. Build it on the ability to walk away. Because when you can walk away, your voice changes. When you can walk away, your standards become real. When you can walk away, negotiation becomes cleaner. When you can walk away, people feel the difference. Not because you threaten them, because you no longer need them to rescue you. This is the quiet authority of leverage. It does not need to announce itself loudly. It is felt in your choices. It is felt in your restraint. It is felt in the fact that you do not chase every offer, answer every insult, explain every decision, or beg for every opportunity. You become less available to manipulation because your survival is no longer tied to one person, one door, one opinion, or one chance. That is what every unsupported man should be building, not a performance of pain, not an identity built on being misunderstood, not a life spent waiting for apologies from people who already moved on. Build the kind of life where their apology no longer matters. Build the kind of competence that makes doubt irrelevant. Build the kind of proof that makes your seriousness visible. Build the kind of money discipline that gives you oxygen. Build the kind of reputation that makes trust arrive before you do. Build the kind of body that can carry ambition. Build the kind of options that make control difficult. So remember the law. Nobody cares. Work harder. But not for pity, not for applause, not to prove your pain. Work harder to build leverage. Skill makes you useful. Proof makes you trusted. Money gives you oxygen. Reputation makes your value visible. The body gives you command. Options give you freedom. Sympathy is temporary. Leverage is durable. Sympathy makes people feel bad for you. Leverage makes people respect your value. Sympathy may get you a kind word. Leverage gives you movement. Sympathy does not pay you. Sympathy does not protect you. Sympathy does not make you harder to replace. If you want freedom, stop trying to be understood and start building leverage. The goal is not to be pitied. The goal is to become impossible to control. Subscribe if you want power, not pity.